Chapter 71, Escape. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 71. Escape. As soon as he woke up, pouring rain filled his ears as he squinted his eyes to look at the outside. There was a single woman wielding two swords and standing alone under the rain. If not due to the pouring water, her whole body would have been covered by the blood coming from the monsters nearby as well as her own body. There was a graze now and then, bleeding continuously. There was even a stab injury on her left thigh. It became even visible since she wore a skirt. Still, a thought appeared in his mind as he never expected to see her standing like that. He instinctively ran toward her in a hurry before finding hundreds of corpses right in front of the cave. Aaliyah. Theo called her name as his body began to wet due to the rain. Yet, his focus remained on her, checking her condition. "Are you all right? You have finally finished." Aaliyah's consciousness was already fuzzy as she fell right into his embrace. "You need to go right now. There will be more coming to this place later. Just hide me inside the cave and I will be fine." Theo then realized something he almost forgot. It was when Aaliyah showed her ID card, showing her level. She herself had almost reached level 150 and became a champion rank magic warrior. In addition, she had been killing more than 95% of the monsters they had encountered during this journey along with last week's rivalry. Even though their level gap was huge, she should still get around 5 or 10 EXP points for every monster. That was why, with the number of monsters she had killed, reaching champion rank was possible. At the same time, Aaliyah should be strong enough to kill these guys without injuries, yet, there were numerous wounds on her body, meaning that she had been weakened because of the calling from her own god like what he saw earlier. All that for him. Whether it was her kindness related to her trauma or the fact that he was her teammate, it was still not worth wasting her life for someone she knew since 2 weeks ago. You have been fighting in this state this whole time." Theo finally understood why God of Fortitude chose her. "You need to go. There's no time. Leave me." Her tone was weak, but she truly meant it. As long as Theo was safe, she would have helped one more person in her life. Theo clicked his tongue. "It's true that I'm selfish and want to win everything. But I still have standards." Leaving his teammate that had been protecting his life this whole time despite her condition was not in his standard. Before she fell unconscious, he asked, "Can you still do it while your body is moving?" Aaliyah closed her eyes, feeling that he wouldn't succeed if he carried her. Yet, Theo's question got the better of her. "Yes. I only need to sleep for a moment." "All right. Sleep now. Leave everything to me." Theo quickly laid her down on the ground before grabbing both her swords along with the shield he dropped earlier. He then opened the bag she carried and threw all the spices and a rope that seemed to be prepared for climbing, but it was the perfect item for him. He threw all the spices and started tying her body tightly before attaching her to his body. This would at least give him better control in handling her body while she was unconscious. Theo then carried her on his back and moved her hand to touch all the monsters' bodies in the area, getting all the cards. TCH. He ended up not getting satisfied, but it was still better than nothing. Only 5E rank skills and 20F rank skills from 2 to 300 elite rank monsters. Theo started calculating all the things in his possession and remembered that he also had some skills in his bag. It's barely enough now. Theo narrowed his eyes as he hesitated for a second. Roar! 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 Suddenly, a series of roars resounded in the area, forcing Theo to make a decision. "This is not the time to think about it. I will use all of them to upgrade my blink and clone right now," said Theo while remembering the upgrade requirement. Blue light started coming out of his body as all the skill cards in his hands disappeared, leaving only 2 F rank skills. Skill. Blink, D. Upgradable upgrade. Fuse 5 rank D skills and 10 rank E skills effect. A skill that allows the user to teleport to 10 feet from them. Due to the current skill rank, the user has a limited amount of distance. The distance can be increased by upgrading the skill. Skill. Clone, D. Upgradable upgrade. 2 rank D skill infuse 20 rank F skills effect. A skill that allows the user to create a clone of himself. Due to the current skill rank, the user can create the same body, control its movement, share vision, talk, and use skills. Other parts are still locked. Theo widened his eyes and looked at his skills before looking at the monsters that would soon arrive. He threw away all unnecessary things they had, so it wouldn't hinder his movement before summoning his clone, giving him Aaliyah's sword. I can't return to the cave and I don't know which direction I should go. Still, with so many monsters chasing me, I doubt I can do much about it. Theo then raised his head, finding a few flying monsters. It's not possible to hide too. He rose from the ground and quickly started running together with his clone to the other side of the cliff, trying to avoid being surrounded. Seeing his movement, the monsters began to chase him as this was a part of their instinct despite them coming here because of the aftershock. Roar! Roar! Theo found 3 monsters in his way, trying to hinder him. If he stopped once, it would be over. Theo and his clone raised both their hands simultaneously, trying the thing he just got. Magic bullet. Each of them summoned a blue light ball and split them into 10 at the same time. The 3 monsters were blasted by 20 magic bullets and died without being able to fight back. He then slipped past them and continued running forward. The magic power consumption is a bit more than 2 times. And to escape from this situation, I need endurance and others. I feel like I'm going to regret this, but life comes first. After contemplating for a few seconds, Theo added 9 points to magic power, 15 points to endurance, 15 points to agility, and the rest went to his vitality. Name: Theodore Griffith. Status: Elite level. 51 EXP, 298/2000 blessing. God of Mischief skill. Pierce, F, Clone, D, Monkey Fist, F, Magic Bullet, E, Haste, E, Focus Charge, E, Blink, D, 3 slots remaining attributes. Strength 80, Endurance 47, Agility 62, Vitality 42, Magic Power 80 free attribute points. 0. Chapter 72, Miracle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 72. Miracle. Panting voices kept echoing inside the woods, only to be suppressed by loud cracking noises when monsters broke the trees or when the ladder hit the ground. Theo had been running for 5 minutes with mad monsters right behind him. He stretched his hand to the side while his clone spun his body and pointed his palm toward the monsters. Magic bullet. The 2 rained the monsters again with the magic bullets to prevent them from coming, but Theo found 3 monsters coming from his right while 2 from the front. If he used another magic bullet, he would be able to destroy one of the sides, but it would mean that his clone would disappear to sacrifice itself to let Theo escape. Meanwhile, the left was filled with monsters that prepared to attack him. He took a deep breath and used another magic bullet, hitting all the monsters coming from his right. At the same time, his clone handed the sword back to Theo. After putting his spear on his mouth, biting it on the handle to carry it, Theo grabbed Aaliyah's sword as he controlled his clone to charge toward the 2 monsters before them. They were close to that of a tiger and a bear, so Theo decided to make a riskier move to maintain his stamina because he didn't know how long Aaliyah would stay in this way. Remembering Aaliyah's condition and how many monsters she had killed, he believed he needed to buy time for at least 30 minutes. Roar! The 2 monsters roared as the tiger leaped forward, trying to strike him. Clone Theo went between them, protecting the real one with its body. Before the tiger hit him, he punched the tiger's face with the monkey fist before kicking it away. However, this action allowed the bear to close their gap. Theo's momentum was too fast, so it was impossible for him to make another maneuver that could let him slip past this bear without an injury. The bear also knew it and swiped its paw from the left to launch Theo and Aaliyah to the tiger. Seeing the bear's paw, Theo smiled and used another skill. Blink. His body became blurry as the next thing they realized, Theo already passed the bear, only to find himself stumbling to the ground. Ugh! The skill didn't kill the momentum. Theo exclaimed in surprise as he did his best to go back to his feet and kept running. He summoned his clone again and handed the sword to him. However, his ordeal had yet to end. Right after he passed the bear, he found an exit of the forest before his heart fell into despair. The monsters would surely come out of the forest, so the exit would be filled with monsters. His only option was to go around this forest to avoid getting caught, but he soon realized that there wasn't a single monster outside. Huh? Why? Theo asked himself and thought, has someone killed them all? If that's the case, it's good because we can ask for help. He was desperate since his magic power had yet to recover. After all, Theo and Aaliyah had been using their power to go to the cave, where he used half of his power to reach it. Then, running around like this was taxing enough because he needed to use his magic bullet constantly to make sure not a single monster could reach him, draining his magic power faster. Hence, Theo thought that as long as it was safe, he didn't mind going there. Let's go out, Theo muttered as he steeled his resolve, planning to search the group that butchered all the monsters. Unfortunately for him, that hope was shattered once again when he exited the forest. He instantly understood the reason why there wasn't a single monster in this area. No way. Theo dropped his jaw as he saw a huge valley right outside the forest. He then looked at the other side, which was separated by at least 200 feet. With how matched the two fragments at each other's end, he knew that this place was once the same thing, yet the earthquake earlier made them shift like this. He looked at the black gap between them and couldn't see anything underneath. The moment he entered that place would be the day he died, so it was not possible. Roar! A series of roars resounded in his ears as he saw the beasts would reach his position soon. He was at his wit's end as he looked left and right, only to find them surrounding him. What should I do? Oi, Aaliyah Ilric. I think this is the best time for you to wake up. Theo gulped down, wondering if he should take the risk. Either way, he would die if he stayed. Suddenly, a thought arose in his mind. It was when he stumbled to the ground after using his blink. Should I risk it? His answer came in the form of a roar. Knowing that he had no time to hesitate, he grabbed Aaliyah's sword and sheathed it into the scabbard on Aaliyah's waist. His clone was next to him, preparing to follow him jump to cross this huge gap. Theo took one deep breath to calm his heart down as he and his clone used haste simultaneously, increasing their speed. The real Theo set off first as he planned to surmount the huge gap with his speed. He jumped as high as possible because it was impossible to do it if he were alone. But clone Theo arrived right behind him, made a front flip, and bent his feet, planning to kick the real one to the other side. Theo then adjusted his position and used his clone to boost himself to the sky, trying to surmount the impossible gap to cross. Go! His eyes were filled with resolve and hope, yet, heaven seemed to not agree to this plan. Despite all his efforts to do this, he realized that he had started falling just by crossing half of the distance. Impossible! I'm going to die. Suddenly, the scene where he first met his master flashed in his mind. He felt useless because he relied on a miracle to save him. No. I have decided to change my way. I can't rely on it anymore. I'm going to perform the miracle itself. Theo widened his eyes as he used his mouth to hold the spear and took out the shield. He then summoned his clone not far from him, facing his shield. Come! Clone Theo raised both hands and created 10 magic bullets, aiming them toward the shield. Boom! The magic bullets exploded after not being able to pierce the spear, giving another boost to the sky. Go! Chapter 73, have yet to end. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 73. have yet to end. Go. Theo couldn't help but scream in excitement because this might be the first time that he solved the impossible by himself. His hand was numb after taking the full brunt of the magic bullets, but he didn't even realize it because of the excitement. Unfortunately for him, he miscalculated the momentum he got from the magic bullet, sending him farther than he thought. If he continued like this, nothing would break his fall and he probably ended up with broken bones. And with Aaliyah on his back, her sleep would surely be disturbed. Hence, Theo looked to his left, finding a tree to land. The moment he found one, he cut the rope attached to his chest before grabbing Aaliyah and pulling her to his embrace. Blink. Theo arrived right in front of the tree, still carrying the momentum like the first time he used Blink. However, he already had a plan for this and summoned his clone, handing him the shield. The clone then went right in front of him and became a cushion for Theo and Aaliyah to hit the tree safely without injury. Bam! The clone was destroyed immediately, but Theo confirmed that his body was alright without any sign of excessive injury. Originally, he planned to use Blink to teleport himself a few feet upward, so he could fly even longer, but he realized the Blink wouldn't be enough to send him to the other side. However, Theo didn't complain about it because he managed to use it at the right time. He landed on his back, gently hitting the tree while protecting Aaliyah's body from getting hit. Huffed. I want to go home right now. Theo let out a long sigh before Aaliyah let out a moan as she opened her eyes, finding her face so close to Theo. Theo already prepared for a slap, but Aaliyah acted differently. Instead of going for the normal route, she stood up and released her awareness. All it took was the spear that Theo held with his mouth to know that they were in the middle of something, so it was better to be alert instead of acting like an ungrateful B***tch. What happened? Aaliyah blinked her eyes, finding nothing in her surroundings. Theo only pointed his finger at her before she realized something was happening behind her. Roar! Roar! Seriously! Aaliyah dropped her jaw, watching around 300 elite rank monsters behind them. She looked at the gap and thought that it was impossible for Theo to cross this gap since it was obvious that they came from the other side. Theo! What did you do? We came from that side, right? She turned around and quickly checked his body to see the injury. Do you have any injuries? Internal injury? I don't think so, but I am so exhausted right now. I think I only have around 20% of my magic power left and my 2 legs are refusing to move. Theo sighed. Aaliyah never expected that Theo would take a risk like this while she was asleep. Still, no matter what anyone said, just like how she protected Theo, he also saved her life. And Aaliyah needed to say that one thing. Thank you. I am just repaying what you have done for me. That's all. Theo shook his head. I don't know whether this place is safe or not, so I am counting on you. Let me rest a bit. Sure thing. Aaliyah nodded with a serious expression. Still, I can't believe you could cross that kind of gap. Do you think you can? Theo asked. With all my physical ability and magic power, barely. Theo agreed since he only succeeded due to his magic bullet and clones. But I think I need to level up a bit more because I have wasted too many attribute points to escape from them. Ahaha, I will help you regarding that. Normally, the first year student doesn't need to go to this side many times, so they are only level 20 to level 30 when they advance a grade. Even most of the graduates are at my level. Because we are actually learning more about knowledge instead of increasing our level. Although I do admit that level is important and many people actually prefer it more than knowledge, I think school is still important because not only you can gain connections, but you can also increase your normal abilities. For example, unless you have a mentor, no normal fighter that comes to this side without a school will know about 5 most important aspects until they have a few years of experience. This school is built for that purpose. But because of Grand Gaia, we have another option where we can gain more levels than history. To be honest, I may have the chance to become a level 251 hero rank magic warrior before graduating. As for you, I believe it will be far higher since I'm thinking of helping you reach level 70 before the training camp is over. Level 70 huh? Theo looked down, contemplating for a moment. There are still 5 months left before everything is wrapped up. Yeah. I believe in the 3rd stage, you may have a shot to get to level 100 or even more. She nodded. I see. Theo looked down. Though I believe I can reach champion rank. That will depend on our team in the future. If they are good, I'm sure that everyone can reach champion rank because I know this will be the first step to compete with other countries' students. We will see. Theo nodded. His confidence was based on his previous data. The fact that he could become an elite rank fighter from level 7 fighter within 2 weeks allowed him to speculate what kind of thing he needed to do to reach the champion rank. Anyway, let me rest first for 2 or 3 hours. Let's eat, shall we? I'm going to Hun. Before she finished her words, a loud howl vibrated the ground. It was like thunder reverberating in one's ears. Even the monsters from the other side of the cliff stopped as if they got scared of this roar. Due to their distance, Theo and Aaliyah could clearly hear that the howl came from inside the gap they crossed earlier. Boom. Giant claws reached the edge of the cliff as if it was trying to come out. Each claw had a width of 6 feet, while the entire hand had a span of 50 feet. Without a doubt, the monster that was hidden this whole time was massive. And to think that there was something this big in this area. Even Aaliyah didn't have such information. Theo couldn't help but mutter, "Oh, sh*t. Did the roars from the monsters I brought to the cliff wake this monster up?" Chapter 74, Buying Time. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 74. Buying time. From one claw, a huge monster gradually climbed out of the valley and revealed its true appearance. A turtle. Theo widened his eyes and started gasping for air just by looking at the monster's appearance. The monster was 200 feet tall above the ground and its length could go as far as 500 feet. Even if Theo and Aaliyah used all their speed to escape, one step was all it took to reach them. The appearance itself was like a turtle, but the skin was white and had some dirt covering its black shell. They could see many holes on the turtle's shell, releasing a black aura that eventually formed a skull covered in purple smoke. Theo! Aaliyah shook his body to wake him up from his trance. She gritted her teeth because if she didn't have the blessing of the god of fortitude, she would have been in the same state as him. Despite shaking his body for a minute, Theo had no sign of waking up, so she clicked her tongue and raised her hand. "Sorry. Pack." She slapped his cheek as his body suddenly shook. "Thank God. You have finally returned. We don't have any time to waste. Let's escape." Theo looked at the turtle once again as he gulped down. His hands were shaking uncontrollably, but the heat from Aaliyah's slap managed to force him to stay awake. Fight that feeling. That turtle is weird. It's sending a certain aura that can easily influence someone weaker than it. Aaliyah shouted. Theo bit his lips until they bled before shaking his head. Yes. Let's go. Aaliyah helped him up as they started running away. However, the time they were in a trance allowed the turtle to fully support its body in the new environment. It noticed Aaliyah and Theo, who tried to escape from him. It notices us. Use your haste right now. We are going at full speed. Theo nodded as the magic power revolved in his body, letting out a green aura from his feet. It took all this to help him match Aaliyah's speed, but it was worth it because they truly went much faster. What is that monster? Theo asked. I'm not sure. Looking at that aura alone, it's probably above champion rank. At least, its level is above 250. Even I don't have the confidence to defeat it. How could such a monster be hidden in this area? You tell me. Their day couldn't get worse. Not only did they need to do anything to survive because they ranked up, but they also needed to escape from a monster like this. If they could restart today, they would go for a safer area or just stay quiet in the Art Beats castle. Suddenly, a high-pitched sound reverberated in that area before a translucent yellow light came out of the turtle, shooting to the sky. It then spread to all directions like a pillar of light, surrounding the entire area. When Aaliyah took another look at it, the light pillars started getting tied by millions of yellow threads, forming an unbreakable wall. What? Aaliyah gasped and turned around, realizing that they were trapped inside a yellow dome. There was also a light pillar on top of the turtle's shell, which might be the only way to escape. Even so, Aaliyah didn't want to give up and shouted to him. "We will break through it. Do everything you can to the barrier." Her sword started blazing as she tried to accumulate as much energy as she possibly could at this point. Theo nodded as he also used his focus charge to accumulate it while preparing to use his magic bullets. The dome itself was 1 mile in diameter, giving them enough time to charge. However, before they arrived, Theo turned his head around while looking at the turtle with his skylink to see its status. Monster description: name. Level. No information. What did you see? Aaliyah noticed his action and asked. No information, Theo answered before his face turned pale when all the skulls left the holes and marched forward. Not good. The skulls are coming. I don't know anything about them. No need to think about them first. The wall is right in front of us. We will hit it first before panicking over those. Aaliyah reminded Theo to focus on their objective instead of getting distracted. Theo nodded with a serious expression as he calmed his heart down, looking at the yellow translucent wall that blocked their way. Watch where I strike. Understood. The two moved as fast as possible to carry all that momentum. When they arrived right before the wall, Aaliyah took one deep step on the ground and thrust her sword forward. Ignition rune sword. Focused charge. Theo also struck the exact same spot as her, trying to break this wall. Unfortunately for them, it only ended up with Theo's spear clashing with Aaliyah's sword as the two ended up failing to destroy it. No, they didn't mess up. It just showed how strong the wall was that was capable of dealing with both strikes without a scratch and forced the two blades to collide. KH. Theo and Aaliyah's shoulders hit each other before they slipped to the ground. Aaliyah looked at the wall and punched the ground out of frustration as she turned around. I'm afraid it's not around level 250 anymore. This monster may be close to level 400. There is still one opportunity. Theo shouted and grabbed Aaliyah's waist without hesitation. Blink. Bam. The next second he appeared, his and Aaliyah's bodies hit the barrier. KH. It's not effective. We're doomed this way. Theo drew a gasp as he looked at the skulls in the air. The turtle itself had yet to do anything, so he thought they should have a chance to fight against these skulls to buy time. That's right. With such a huge appearance, there is a possibility for the military to detect this. And my master may also be on the way. If we hold it long enough. As he gained a new objective, Aaliyah also refused to give up as she shouted. Do you have an idea, Theo? Buy time. The turtle must be in deep slumber before the earthquake, so it's not fully awake yet. That's why we will fight those skulls until the reinforcement comes. There are two possible safest locations. The dark valley where the turtle came out and behind its giant body. But I don't know if there are more monsters hiding inside the first one, so we will go for the second option. Aaliyah nodded with a serious expression. All right. We will fight them, but we will maintain our distance from the turtle while making our way there. Yes. Same strategy. Theo nodded and summoned his clone, handing both sword and shield. Understood. Let's escape this nightmare alive, shall we? Aaliyah forced herself a smile. Chapter 75, Survive Together. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 75. Survive Together, humph. Theo snorted and raised his hand as a blue light ball appeared above his palm, splitting into 10. Magic bullet. The magic bullet spread and hit the 4 skulls out of hundreds of skulls. Surprisingly, the skulls were obliterated just like that, as if they didn't have anything to protect their physical bodies. When Aaliyah saw this reaction, she informed him. They don't have physical bodies. Unless you are using magic power for skills or something, you won't be able to cut them down. In other words, I can't rely on my weapons. Yes. However, it will be a different case if you can clad your spear with magic power. Can you do it? I can barely do it even with my left hand. Only through skills. I barely can control my magic bullet at this point. Do you think I have enough skill to do something like that? Aaliyah sighed. Why did you? She wanted to ask why Theo hid his magic bullet in clone skills, but she stopped, knowing it was rude to ask someone's skills. He had been understanding about her left hand, so she needed to respect him as well. Anyway, we can't do much with our current magic power, which has been depleted because of the continuous run, so reserve your power as much as possible. I know. Theo nodded with a serious expression. Here they come. Aaliyah shouted as they continued going around the dome, right next to the translucent wall, so they had enough room to react if the turtle attacked them or something. Focused charge. Theo looked at his spear as he only had one shot by using this skill. Still, it was better than nothing. Unfortunately for them, Aaliyah's observation was wrong. The turtle was far beyond her imagination as the skulls suddenly halted their movement in the air and opened their mouths. Aaliyah. That's bad, right? Theo noticed their actions and saw purple light shone within their mouths. Hide behind me right now. Aaliyah ordered, not accepting any objection. This was the first time Theo heard this tone, so he quickly hid behind her. Fortitude. Aaliyah stabbed the ground with her sword as a giant red shield appeared. Theo couldn't see anything since he was right behind her, bending his knees. The only thing he felt was the shock, loud explosion, and vibrating ground. Boom. She was rained down by purple light that exploded as soon as they touched their target. Fortunately, Theo and Aaliyah managed to survive that onslaught when everything around them was wiped out, leaving only a huge fan-shaped crater with only the middle left out. Aaliyah didn't stop there. She noticed that the skulls seemed to be fusing with each other while some formed a group and created a purple colored barrier which had the appearance of the dome's barrier. We need to destroy that big skull. Aaliyah shouted and pointed her forefinger at the bigger skull after absorbing half of them. Launch me to the sky. Theo nodded and ran 10 feet with his hands joining together. Aaliyah then ran toward him, stepped on his hands, and jumped to the sky with Theo's assistance. The groups of skulls quickly stopped them with their barriers. Aaliyah managed to cut a few of them, but it killed off her momentum as she finally stopped and started falling. No. Aaliyah's voice was filled with regret as she saw the giant skull preparing the same attack. Theo called his clone and flew to the sky with the shield, preparing to take it on as Aaliyah would be a better person to carry him if he fell unconscious after this attack. I'm going to attack. Before he finished his words, they passed each other, where Aaliyah grabbed him and reversed their position, so she could take this attack. You may haven't felt it, but that attack will destroy the shield and kill you. This attack is directed to me, so let me face it. Theo widened his eyes as Aaliyah spun her sword and wielded it backward. She then pointed the sword downward as she shouted. Fortitude. A red flame shield appeared right before her eyes as it was translucent enough for her to see through it. Oi. That's bad news. Theo eventually realized how powerful that attack was and clenched his teeth. Even Aaliyah might not be able to block it. Yet, he was also in dilemma. Although he didn't want to admit it, he could only use one more skill. He had 2 choices, magic bullet or blink. If he chose the latter, he would be able to destroy the skull. As long as he survived this attack, they should be able to last a bit longer. But if he chose the latter, they could only survive this attack while running under their onslaught. In that instant, Theo decided to trust Aaliyah. Aaliyah ignored him and stood firm in the air as the skull shot out a purple laser from its mouth. The moment it struck her shield, Aaliyah, who didn't have any foundation in the air, got pushed back. Obviously, Theo caught her as both of them were launched to the ground. However, before they even hit it, Aaliyah suddenly spat a mouthful of blood and the shield cracked. Theo's clone finally arrived at its destination, where he could snipe the skull from its blind spot. Magic bullet. The magic bullet flew and obliterated the big skull, stopping the attack, but Aaliyah's shield broke and the residual attack would surely kill them both. Theo instinctively grabbed her waist and carried his shield to the front for the last line of defense. Seeing this, Aaliyah also helped him hold the shield to make sure it didn't get blown away. Focused charge. Theo instinctively used his focused charge on his shield instead of his spear, allowing him to gather all his magic power because of the push and successfully blocking it. Yet, their problem hadn't ended. Their current momentum would surely break Theo's bone at this point and potentially kill him, so Aaliyah turned around as her hands clung on Theo's back before spinning their body again, planning to use her body as a cushion. Bam! The two crashed on the ground as Theo was completely fine with his head landing softly on her chest, but his hair quickly turned red as Aaliyah spat another mouthful of blood. You! Theo quickly broke free and looked at Aaliyah's condition. You should go. My body refuses to move. I'm sure that you can hold long enough, said Aaliyah as her eyes slowly lost their light. I'm sorry. I shouldn't bring you to this place. Oi! Stay with me. Theo shouted as he checked her body's condition. Although he wasn't a doctor, he could feel that her heart still beat. Even though it was weak, it didn't get any weaker. In other words, she just fell unconscious. Knowing that the skull would chase them again, Theo quickly stood up and carried her with both hands, trying to stay alive as long as possible. Master! Where are you? Your student is going to die right now. As if answering his prayer, the dome suddenly cracked all over before getting shattered into pieces. A white-haired old woman figure gradually fell down from the sky. I'm sorry, my beloved student. Your master is late. Wait, no. Your master has arrived at the perfect minute. Relief and happiness overwhelmed his heart, but he just wasn't in the mood for jokes, especially with their current condition, so he raised his voice. I don't need your joke right now. Chapter 76, Master's True Power. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 76. Master's True Power, ha ha ha. His master laughed out loud as she checked their condition, shouting, true enough. Still. You're doing great dealing with a supreme rank monster. Let me handle this guy first. Supreme. Theo gasped as he recalled that supreme rank could only be achieved when they were above level 500. No wonder that they couldn't even handle the ghost. She landed on the ground and raised her spear. Thunder started rumbling as the sky became even darker. As if knowing that Theo's master was stronger, the skulls suddenly turned around and flew back, planning to kill her first. The old lady looked below her and muttered, is this a ghost turtle? It's a rare breed that is hard to find even among level 500 monsters. To think there is something this big in this place. It's seriously concerning. Never mind. I will just kill it and be done with it. She then looked at the skulls surrounding her, preparing to attack with the same laser that Theo and Aaliyah received. However, the latter only smiled. She channeled her magic power as lightning struck forth, albeit slower than normal lightning. Lightning descent. Before reaching her position, the old lady started swinging her spear to the side before spinning her body as if she was dancing. Surprisingly, that bolt of lightning followed her movement and went to the side, destroying all the skulls until nothing remained. When Theo witnessed such a thing, he dropped his jaws. Impossible. Did she actually use her own spear like a lightning rod? But she can even control the direction of the lightning. Is she a human? His master ignored his reaction and swung her spear down after killing all skulls, dispersing the lightning to the ground. If I am not wrong, this guy's shell is too hard to even be penetrated, making it a fortress. And with the skulls he carries when moving, he is known as a mobile fortress. Well, I have met it once when I'm not in this country. So, what should I do? She muttered before noticing 3 presences behind her. She turned around and found 3 flying skeletons twice the size of her. The skeletons wore a tattered black robe and wielded a scythe on their hands. She narrowed her eyes as the skeletons disappeared, only to appear next to her a split second later, swinging their scythes down. On the other hand, the old lady simply raised her spear and blocked all 3 scythes without much effort as she looked up. You're annoying. Out of my way. She pushed them back and blew away all 3 scythes simultaneously, along with her own spear spinning in the air. Blue lightning then started sparking all over her body as she bent her knees, placing her hand on the turtle's shell. Great lightning shock. Boom. A crater suddenly appeared on the turtle shell, spanning over 70% of its body. She also pushed the turtle too far to the point there was a huge crater underneath the turtle's feet, vibrating the ground. The turtle screamed in pain as its body swayed left and right. She didn't stop there. Grabbing the spear that had fallen right before her, she thrust the spear with the move she showed Theo, bursting the 3 skeletons. The turtle opened its mouth again as it prepared another attack. Sensing this power, the old lady hurriedly went straight to the turtle's head and hit it with the spear's handle as if smashing a giant hammer down. Bang! That one hit created a powerful shock wave, blowing trees to the side. Some even snapped and fell to the ground. The turtle's head flung downward as if something broke inside his head. Even Theo needed to stop and duck down while protecting both their bodies with the shield. Is this master's true power? She said this is a supreme rank monster, right? To toy such a monster with ease, Theo drew a gasp as he realized something weird. She must be a mythical rank magic warrior. However, there is not a single person who is above level 750 in this country. Don't tell me she is from another country. Why would such a person find me because of a certain promise? And it's not my brother. This question turned into 2 questions and they kept multiplying one after another. However, that wasn't important. The fact that she handled this monster like this was enough to know that he and Aaliyah would survive this ordeal. After closing that mouth with a single strike, Theo's master went back to the turtle shell and planned to make another big move to settle everything since she didn't even scratch the turtle's head earlier. The turtle also didn't plan to give up and created a huge purple circle above its shell. Purple light then shone upon her as if a UFO wanted to kidnap her, and she even felt that way, albeit it was closer to her soul being kidnapped instead. I am not playing here. You're too big and can't move that well. That's your major flaw. Facing someone far stronger than you is your greatest setback, big boy. She smiled and raised her spear again before waving it down as another bolt of lightning struck forth. The lightning hit the purple circle and destroyed it, allowing her to move freely again. Another lightning flew down, but its target was the old lady instead. Surprisingly, the old lady took it head-on before using her magic power to force the lightning to coat the spear. Theo could see that the lightning sparked on her spear alone while her entire body was perfectly fine as if she was a human isolator. She then spun her spear and pointed it down. Divine lightning. She lightly pierced the shell and channeled all the power to the turtle. Discharge. The lightning quickly spread all over the turtle's huge body as it even spread to the forest, blasting all trees like none other. The lightning sparked from one place to another, crushing, cracking, or even shattering the shell into pieces. The turtle's skin wasn't that good either, as red blood started flowing out of its body. On the legs, on the head, or even inside the shell. The lightning brutally skinned this turtle with its mighty power until the turtle lost its strength and dropped to the ground lifeless. The old lady checked something before tapping the turtle with her hand, turning it into 3 cards. She grabbed the cards and disappeared. Meanwhile, Theo gasped as he never thought such a thing was possible. When he blinked his eyes, his master already arrived before him, saying, "What do you think of that battle? There are many people at that level and I'm not even considered a genius. Do you think you can compete with them?" Theo looked at his master's eyes, having no words to say as he couldn't answer it. On the contrary, the old lady bent down and took out another medicinal tube that she used on him and injected it into Aaliyah's body. "You don't need to answer it right now." She smiled and grabbed both of them. "Now, let's go back first to heal from your injuries." Chapter 77, Mr. Ulrich. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 77. Mr. Ulrich. Inside the Swan Lake General Hospital, the nearest and biggest hospital near the portal, Theo sat next to a white bed. His body was covered with bruises as well, but it wasn't as bad as Aaliyah, who was unconscious on the bed. Suddenly, he turned around and found his master coming in. "How is she?" "No change at all. But the doctor said she will wake up tonight, especially due to your strange medicine." "That's good." His master felt relieved before looking at him. "I'm leaving in the next 5 minutes, so I will just say 2 things. "What is it?" Theo squinted his eyes before he lowered his head. "Before that, I would like to thank Master for saving us first." I didn't do anything. The reason you could stay alive until now was due to your perseverance. You have told me about the story and I can only say one thing about it. You've done a great job. I just want you to remember this. She has done it when in a group, but whether you're a man or a woman, you each have an obligation to help each other. Instead of taking the full brunt of an attack and killing you, it's better to share it together and live on, just like what you've experienced with her." Theo remembered when Aaliyah took the first blow before he blocked the residual attack. And because they would be in trouble late, Aaliyah took the fall too. If he were alone, there was no doubt that he would die immediately. His expression mellowed a bit as he nodded. "I understand. Thank you, Master." "Good. The next thing is, what do you think about this trip?" "Horrible. But I can proudly say that you have learned a lot, right?" "Yes. The greater the risk, the bigger the reward." This is very true even in the very basic form of EXP points. There are many elite ranks hunting in a level 20 to level 30 area because they can kill more of them without high risk. It will be slow, but they will definitely progress. However, if you go to a higher level area, you will find yourself surrounded by powerful monsters. It's true that you will get more EXP points, but your life will constantly be at risk. You need to be on alert the whole time. I want to ask you. Do you still have the confidence to keep challenging monsters with a higher level than yours? That's the only way for you to catch up with the rest of your peers. Well, you are already among the top for the first year, but you are still nothing compared to second and third year students. That's why I ask you this question. Look at my eyes and tell me your answer." Theo took a deep breath as he recalled everything he experienced today. It was truly a gruesome experience where he could die at any moment. Even Aaliyah experienced the same thing despite her level. There was also the fact that the assassins didn't care about his age. Yet, when he opened his status window. Name: Theodore Griffith. Status: Elite level 53 EXP 537/2206. Blessing: God of Mischief. Skill: Pierce, F, Clone, D, Monkey Fist, F, Magic Bullet, E, Haste, E, Focus Charge, E, Blink, D. 3 slots remaining. Attributes: Strength 80, Endurance 47, Agility 62, Vitality 42, Magic Power 80 free attribute points. 10 just by running around and killing around 20 monsters, his level already increased 2 levels. It was truly worth the effort in his opinion. Besides, playing it safe would just slow him down to reach his goal, and there was even a possibility of him failing to reach his goal in the future. So, Theo knew his answer. I am ready to do anything. Of course, I will be assessing the information from this point on. Since I have been relying on her to choose the location, this time I want her to tell me first, so I can get enough information about that place. That's a good resolve. She smiled. As much as I want to reward you, I won't for the time being. Instead, I'm going to increase your training tomorrow, since I believe the training will be restarted either tomorrow or the day after. But you need to make sure that you meet me at the usual time tomorrow. Yes. Theo let out a long sigh and nodded. I will definitely come there. Then, it's time for me to leave. Take care. She patted his head and left the room. Theo then leaned on his chair as he looked at the white ceiling, recounting his own performance. Suddenly, he felt another person entering the room. Since he had no family, he quickly rose from his chair and turned around, finding a middle-aged man with a black suit. His blonde hair looked like Aaliyah and his eyes were locked at Aaliyah until he arrived right in front of Theo. It was then he slightly widened his eyes before his vision lowered a bit for an instant to see Theo's pocket watch, which was hidden underneath his clothes. Appearing to be unsurprised, he stretched his hand with a smile. Are you Aaliyah's teammate in the training group? Yes. My name is Theodore Griffith. He closed his eyes for a few seconds as if pondering over something before patting his shoulder. I have met the doctor and paid the bills. You should rest too. Theo never expected this reaction. He thought that her father would be mad at him, saying he was useless or something to even let his daughter in this state. Believing that it was better to address it, Theo apologized. I'm sorry, sir. I was too weak. There is not a single monster around the area that can reduce my daughter to this level. And the fact that he has chosen you over other people means that your ability is above the rest. Hence, the only conclusion why she ends up in this state is a very powerful monster. So, I can understand. I'm angry, of course, but toward myself. He patted his shoulder while offering his best smile. BL.net Theo knew that her father was trying to hide his sadness because his heart must be wrenched in pain to see his daughter in this state. Since you're here, I should probably leave now. When he was about to leave, he stopped Theo again and asked, how is your injury? It took him a moment to answer him as Theo just knew this person today. The worst part is my legs because of continuous usage of haste. Other than that, it's fine, sir. Is that so? He thought for a moment and grabbed another chair on the corner of the room. Sitting down next to Theo's chair, he gently hit the chair a few times as if telling him to sit down. Do you mind telling me about your experience today? I understand. Theo nodded with a smile. He sat down and started explaining how the story went. Chapter 78, Speech. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 78. Speech. As Theo told him the full story, Aaliyah let out a small moan and gradually opened her eyes, finding Theo and her father talking with each other. Aaliyah was surprised to see the two together and realized she hadn't died yet. Not knowing what they were talking about, she quickly rose from the bed, wanting to explain, but the pain jolted her brain as she dropped again to the bed. Oi. You shouldn't push yourself. Her father quickly rose from the seat and checked his daughter's condition. Eddie, father. Where am I? You're in the hospital. You should rest first since you're not healed yet. He shook his head helplessly while answering her. Theo, on the other hand, felt that he shouldn't intrude on this family, so he said, since she has woken up, I should return home. Aaliyah's father tilted his head in confusion. Why? You haven't told me everything yet. Theo opened his mouth in surprise as he didn't expect such an answer. He blinked his eyes a few times and made a weird smile. That you can learn from your daughter. I'm sure that she is more believable than me. It was a perfect answer to leave this situation, but Aaliyah's father might have a screw loose in his head as he actually looked at him coldly and said, "Did you say you want to force my daughter to tell me the whole story in this condition?" Wait, what? Theo was dumbstruck. Considering the Ulrich family's reputation, they should have something strict manner in their home, and an unknown guy should have left them alone now that everything was all right. Yet, he became angry because Theo wanted to leave them alone to respect their privacy. As I said, you're staying here. Aaliyah's father demanded before grabbing an apple on the basket next to the bed. He then showed it to Theo before the skin was completely peeled as if it was burst from inside. After that, the apple was cut into 8 perfectly with magic power. Come. I still haven't heard the whole story from you. If it's from my daughter, I will be biased, so I need someone like you to tell me. Come. I will let you eat this. He stuck one of the pieces in Theo's mouth before pulling him back to his chair. You said you are going to tell me, right? Now you need to finish the story. Theo's expression twisted, not comprehending why he acted this way. Father. You shouldn't force him. No matter what anyone else said, he has saved my life. He also needs to rest. TCH. He clicked his tongue and scratched the back of his head. Since you have said it, I will let him go. Not understanding the sudden change, he just continued to leave the room before he changed his mind. The next day, Theo returned to the school, where they were informed about listening to another briefing because of yesterday's earthquake. Surprisingly, Aaliyah had already recovered enough to walk and a simple run, but since the agreement between him and Aaliyah was still effective, Aaliyah only took a simple glance at him to check his condition. Theo gave a nod to her before going to the gym to listen to the principal. When he entered the stage, he was accompanied by another person who happened to be the organizer of the training. I'm sure that every one of you has known yesterday's condition. Out of 10% of people who are hunting outside the training ground, 20.3 people have been confirmed dead and 50 are still missing. I'm sure that this is a shock to you, but you need to remember that the moment you step on the other side, your life will be in constant danger. After this, you shall register your name in the school database so we can check whether you're still alive or not before doing some investigations. He then stretched his hand and said, and I would like to introduce you to the head trainer for Grand Gaia, Mr. Radvils. As soon as the principal gave him the place and time to talk, Radvils started with a strong vibe of a villain as he said, you all are pathetic. To think that only 10% actually realize the meaning of my training. Do you think you are going to be provided with information all the time? No. If you want to survive on the other side, sometimes you are required to get to know the monsters by yourself as there are no data about those monsters. The same applies to the tournament. Do you think you can get every information about other competitors? No. If you can't even see through the real reason why I set up that type of training, I don't think you have the right to even compete in Grand Gaia. This immediately kicked their pride as most of them looked at him in anger. However, Radvils simply ignored them and continued. What? You are mad at me? I don't care. You can hate me all you want because it won't change the fact that you're useless. If you don't like it, prove it to me and slap me right on my face. Either way, I won't waste my time to the likes of you. That's all. You can try to replace me as the trainer if you don't like it, but I can assure you it's impossible unless you have the president's authority. He shrugged and turned around, leaving the stage. That's all. Eigen made a weird smile before shaking his head helplessly, trying to smoothen the mood. Mr. Radvils' strength is among the best despite his personality. However, it's also formed by his experience. If you can ignore all profanities, you will get the best advice from him. Other than that, I am here to tell you that the training will be resumed starting tomorrow and there's no change in the schedule. You're to arrive here at 6 a.m. tomorrow so we can send you there or go by foot today. The choice is yours. That's all. I hope that you work hard. Eigen then went off the stage and found Radvils waiting for him with a smug. As expected from the principal. Eigen's eyebrows twitched as he gritted his teeth. You're too harsh. I'm not harsh at all. When we get to the main stage of the Grand Gaia competition, no one will favor us because we're simply a team from a small country. Many people will look down on us, and do you think how much pressure the students need to endure? If they are beaten by this small talk alone, then they will be useless in the Grand Gaia. I have said it to you, Principal Eigen. I don't care what they think about me. My main goal is to have those kids compete in Grand Gaia, not participate. Radvils shrugged his shoulders and left. Eigen clenched his fists. He knew he hated this method but couldn't rebuke him because he understood the reason and its importance. Chapter 79, End of Training. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 79. End of Training. 2 weeks later. The group was gathered again in the middle area as they had finished their training camp. Major Sam was giving his last speech. 70% of you haven't given up as of now. However, your true training has yet to start, eliminating 99% of you, leaving only 6 to represent our country to the grand stage. That's why I won't congratulate you today. The next training will start on Friday or the day after tomorrow. And yes, you can return today. Use today and tomorrow to rest your body. For now, pack up your stuff and we will go back in 3 hours. That's all. Hearing his speech made many people relieved since the training was tough. Theo only looked at them and shook his head helplessly, recalling what had happened in the past 2 weeks. Because of the incidents, there was no big movement from both the trainers and the trainees. Theo got the replacement for his weight. Due to becoming an elite rank fighter, Major Sam became even more merciless and gave him the body armor he was required to wear all time. It was yet another hell. His master also stepped up their training. Theo managed to grasp his awareness, though it was very weak because it was the hardest one so far. As for his breathing, Theo managed to master the breathing rhythm and maintained his calm for 1 hour of continuous stress. His master taught him control by hiding the dummies behind the trees where he needed to use his eyes to find them before using his magic bullet to hit them. She even forced him to shoot 2 or more different targets in separate directions. She also asked Theo to control his body and his clone at the same time while sharing the vision. In the latter stage of the training, he ended up fighting with his own clone. After that, Theo's understanding of the footwork was complete. His body only needed to remember it to the instinctual level to make the movement even more fluid. The same applied to the spear technique. Last but not least, stamina. Theo had been enduring all this kind of training without even a break from his teacher. In addition to the constant mental pressure to keep up with Aaliyah during the weekends, it was pretty harsh even for him. Despite getting all those tortures, Theo didn't slack even once and kept maintaining the same discipline even if his legs were to give up or his consciousness was to go blank. During the second last day of training, specifically after Theo completed his master's training, his master said one thing that stuck in his mind. Although you have learned all 5 aspects, it doesn't mean you have gotten enough strength to fight all the people. You understand that, right? Yes. Theo's expression was calm and collected, fully knowing that his current self was still weak. Well, with his teacher showing him the real power, there was no way that Theo would consider himself strong even to his peers. That's good. Hence, I want to seal your magic bullet and clone once again. With your current skill sets, I believe you have more than enough to win. Only when you have lost once in the second stage of training will you get my permission to use your clone and magic bullet. Will that be okay? I know that Master wants me to break free from my dependency on the 2 skills, but I'm perplexed this time. I feel like I don't rely on them that much after getting all the skills. My reason remains the same. Only in the face of adversity will you find a new way of fighting. Refine that rationality of yours and your fighting style. Unlike the second and third years, no one has information about you yet since you're not popular. Using that to your advantage, I want to polish you as much as possible to make you a secret weapon. Of course, if you still don't understand my real reason by the end of the training, I will explain it to you. Since Master is so confident in me getting the quota, I shall follow Master's wish. Theo took a deep breath and nodded. I can see that the reason why Master wants me to be that way is because if we fight against international teams, they may have 2 or even more geniuses like Aliyah Ilrich in one team, right? You know me well, but that's not all. Anyway, go rest your body for 3 days. Don't train physically. Theo agreed and returned to the camp, packing his stuff and returning to the other side. This marked the end of the training that exhausted him both physically and mentally. He looked at his status to check the result of his training. Name: Theodore Griffith. Status: Elite level. 69 EXP 754/4318. Blessing. God of Mischief. Skill: Pierce, F, Clone, D, Monkey Fist, F, Magic Bullet, E, Haste, E, Focus Charge, E, Blink, D. 3 slots remaining. Attributes: Strength 115, Endurance 68, Agility 77, Vitality 59, Magic Power 110. Free attribute points 0 in total. Theo had gotten around 10 levels worth of points in the training camp and 20.5 levels in this 1-month training camp. This was truly a game changer for Theo, considering he had gotten so many points from the God of Mischief. He could even compare himself to a normal level 90 fighter and understand that the gap would become even bigger the moment he reached champion rank or above, as Aliyah said previously. To his surprise, that same Aliyah suddenly went into his vision and signaled him to meet her. Since the other party went all her way to give this hint instead of coming to him, he decided to answer her properly and pointed at the dense forest. The moment he saw her disappear, he also sneaked out of the group and headed to the dense forest. As soon as he arrived, Aliyah turned her head and smiled at him. You've come. Yeah. Do you need anything from me? The next training camp will be held in 2 days, right? It means that tomorrow is our day off. Theo nodded as he thought about going to this place again to increase his level. Are you free tomorrow? No. I still need to hunt for levels. Aliyah's eyebrows twitched and she ignored his answer. I see you're free. Like I said, I need to. Before he finished his words, she covered his mouth and pouted. Theo was confused by her actions. You should know how to rest your body as well, or it will start screaming at you. I know that you try to work hard, but I can see that your muscles are screaming, so please. She shook her head helplessly before grinning, changing the atmosphere around her entirely. So, tomorrow, let's go out with me. Hi. No. Chapter 80, by skill. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 80. By skill. The next day, Theo ended up coming to the school where Aliyah waited for him. Yes, he agreed to Aliyah because of her persuasion. Also, his master asked him to rest too, so he decided to accept her invitation. Right next to the school gate stood Aliyah under the tree. She wore a one-piece light blue dress, leaving the top of her shoulders uncovered but still covered the sides. The dress's waist was tightly wrapped by a cotton black colored belt. Below the waist, the dress rested gently and stopped right above her knees. You have finally come. She made a big smile before approaching him. Don't worry. Not a single student comes here. You must have waited for 30 minutes. Theo nodded while checking the road, confirming what she said. You know me well. Chuckling, she fixed her hair after getting swayed by the wind when she was waiting. Theo's expression remained calm as he asked, so, what are we going to do today? We will go to the temple first. I have made an appointment there. To update our status. Nope. It can wait since I'm assuming that we will get more levels before the Grand Gaia starts. It's better to do it later once. We will go to the temple to buy skills. Skills. You can buy it there. Theo widened his eyes. Yes. Ah, you haven't gotten any explanation about the reward system. Theo shook his head. No. I only know that I need to update my status every 6 months. Let's go there while talking. Theo looked left and right until Aaliyah asked, "What are you doing?" "I'm searching for a fancy car." "You won't find it. I'm coming here on foot. I prefer walking, you know. It's not like the place is that far. It's only a 30 minutes walk." She shook her head helplessly. "Can I go back right now? Why do you make it like it's troublesome to be with me? Many people are lining up to have a date with me. That's even worse." Theo shrugged. "I'm here just because of the bribe. If someone ends up finding me with you, there will be so many death threats, oppositions, and so on. In other words, it's endless trouble for me." She face-bombed and let out a long sigh. She then tied her hair into a ponytail and took out a white hat and sunglasses, putting them on. Her aura completely changed to a tomboyish girl, and the sunglasses seemed to be big and dark enough to cover half of her face. "Well, I have put this a few times and no one has recognized me yet." "It's fine, right?" Theo shrugged and looked away. "It's because you look weird. I don't even know whether you are trying to be a tomboy or feminine." "Nah, never mind, you're trying to be a freak. This is the first time I meet someone like you. Even the others who don't like me are still polite, unlike you. I have no family and friends, so what? If you don't like me, you can always ruin my life or even kill me. It's not like you can torture me with my family or friends," Theo nonchalantly said, not caring about her opinion. "Oh God, please smite this man who doesn't know courtesy." She pouted while cursing. "Did you say something?" "Nothing. Let's go." She stretched her hand and started walking first. Theo followed her to the temple and asked her about the skills. "You should know that the temple is taking 20% of your money to compensate for their service, right?" "Yes. It's true that way, but there is also another reason for that. When you have reached a certain amount, you will have the privilege to go to the skills center." If I'm not wrong, the temple also buys skills and material cards from the fighters." "Yes. All of them are there." "Then aren't they bad skills?" "Not necessarily so. What we are going to buy is a rank D skill. Imagine that the people have hunted so many champion rank monsters and get their skills. Even if it's useless for them, it's good enough to last us a long time." Theo looked up before agreeing to her opinion. "Indeed. That's why we are going there. I still have one question. I'm sure that the temple buys the cards at a lower price than the Skylink network, right?" "Ah, the Skylink network just means that you're selling the skill because you want extra money, considering it will depend on the demand. Meanwhile, if you sell your skill to the temple, you will get the money immediately." "I see. So it depends whether you're rushing to get money or not." Theo nodded, remembering that sometimes the shops on the other side refused to buy skill cards or material cards from him. Only her grandfather's shop would buy everything from him. "Yes. Let's go then. I'm planning to buy one skill for myself as well." She paused for a moment. "Of course, after knowing about you, my grandfather wants to thank you by giving you something from his shop. It will be good if we can get a custom spear or armor for you since you are more like a magic warrior instead of a fighter." "Actually, that part makes me confused. Why do you choose to become a fighter instead of a magic warrior?" Theo remembered that his magic bullet came from Feral Hilbert. Since he wanted to hide the fact that he was the Joker, he chose fighter instead. But there was no way he could tell her, right? Theo only looked away, refusing to answer. I don't expect an answer anyway. She shrugged and continued walking. On the way, she started going left and right, buying something from food stalls just to enjoy her time, and her only excuse was, this is bonding between teammates. Of course, he still ate anything when she bought it for her. It wasn't good to waste food, especially since the other party was paying for it. Other people thought of them as a couple going on their date, but Theo never considered it even once. Aaliyah might be beautiful, having a cheerful personality, and easygoing. Yet, even if he met another woman, he would treat them the same because he couldn't afford to fall in love, especially with the mission of screwing the world. The moment he started doing it, he would become the world's enemy. Hence, it was better to stay away from them to avoid hurting or getting hurt. That was the price he didn't mind paying after getting the God of Mischief's blessing.